How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the 5-Star Potential Podcast Social. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. And yet again, we've got another podcast. We're going into the last few days now, last 4 or 5 podcasts. So as always, hope you guys are keeping well and safe.
Not like we're counting them fucking down.
and looking after yourselves. Alongside me today, as you can see, we've got Joe, Friday Night FM. Joe, how you keeping?
I'm all good, mate. All good. Busy day at work. And I'm actually, what are we now? 20 past 10. And I'm gearing up for the new FM save, so I'm pretty hyped.
You love to see it. You love to hear it. We've got Dupe as well. Dupe, how's it going?
It's been a long day, mate. Been a really long day. Been working very hard and smashing a load of monsters. And I don't feel very well. I'm just putting that out there. But we're here. And I've got a few upset things, so if you hear anything dodgy there, I do apologise. That's all I'm saying. I'll try
tactical evacuation.
Nothing tactical about doing it in your seat.
Yeah.
No, true. And the lever makes it ripple. But the vibrations are good, that's all I'm saying. The other thing is, Dave, I've had a 2-hour nap, which actually is the most sleep I've had in 2.5 weeks, so I'm happy. I'm good.
Does the nap always make you feel better though, or does it make you feel worse?
I feel. Well, to be fair, what did I say to you the minute I got in the call this afternoon?
Yeah.
So no, I was like, if Joe's coming on the pod, and we've got Matt, I'm not coming on. I'm going to bed. And then Joe was like, we're not watching the fight because I want to play FM. I'm like, yeah, let's do that instead. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, lovely. And we have got say special guest. He's our special guest today, but you guys all know him. It's Matt Nerd. Matt, how you keeping, man?
I was going to do my hello, but I won't do it.
Just do your hello, just for old time's sake.
Just because you want to record it.
I did it on the last podcast, Matt. You know, the one you were absent
from.
And Dupe said, "Don't do it again" to me.
No, Matt, come on. I love yours. I don't want it as a soundbite. I just want you to do it.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
No, actually, that was very underwhelming.
I didn't really try, to be honest.
I know, we can tell.
Joe, put it on the script for the next pod, and I bet he'll do it.
Yeah, true.
I am
like read Ron, whatever Joe
I am
writes.
Ron Burgundy, yeah.
My name's Ron Burgundy. Who put a question mark at the end? But yeah.
I haven't watched that film in ages, you know.
I mean, no one's mentioned it on their favourite TV or films, so
because it is shit, but it's amazingly shit, right? It's one of those films that are good, but
this makes no sense, does it? Yeah.
It's like Step Brothers. Step Brothers is one of my favourite films, but it's just not a good film. But it's Step Brothers.
Yeah.
A good shit film.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Obviously, Matt has
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's also. I've not watched that actually. I can't judge. Matt has obviously already been on a couple of podcasts. Has been a sort of a co-host on some of these. But before we get Matt on, talk a little bit more in depth about his year, about what he's been up to, his lockdown, and just a bit more about Matt's life in general. So it's been an interesting one, Matt. Obviously, we've spoken to some people that have sort of made the transition from what I'd call normal full-time work into the full-time content creation world. You took it, I'd say recently, it's been probably longer than I think now. It's probably been a couple of years. You took the transition from a normal day job into voiceover work. A little sort of similar to what some of the other guys have done. What was the reasoning behind that? How big of a jump was that for you as well?
It wasn't really monetarily. It wasn't really a change. It got to a point. There were multiple reasons. One of them was I just wasn't very happy with what I was doing. Yes, in dev before you start.
Yes, up the dev.
What did you, Matt? Sorry, this is just this sort of podcast. What did you actually do in dev? Can we settle that once and for all?
You're gonna say no one asked as soon as I say anything.
He literally did.
I'm not immature. I'm genuinely. I'm a different person on this one, Pop Matt. I have to show emotion on here. So genuinely curious to what you actually did.
So I was a business analyst.
Okay.
Waiting for it? No, it's not.
No one asked. There you go.
No, there we go.
I didn't do that, Matt. I have respect, unlike David.
I was a business analyst, but I was very disenfranchised, and I think a lot of people probably go through it where they don't really like what they do necessarily, or can't find any. I can't think of the word now. Any No, it's gone. Whatever it
Motivation?
was, but
I don't know.
fulfillment
Okay.
is the. So you can't. So you do it because you need money, but you don't really enjoy what you actually do. And I think after I sort of originally my plan after uni was to go into teaching, and then I tried teaching and I didn't really like it anymore because I'd sort of
because you don't like people.
that is
Let
that is
alone
also
kids.
true. Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, that wasn't going to be. Well, basically, I'd sort of worked in office jobs to earn the money to be able to put myself through university again, and then in that process, I ended up talking myself out of doing teaching. Fell into sort of the development bucket and software support bucket, and it was something I wasn't really happy with. So one of the reasons was I just didn't want to do the job anymore, and the other one was that I was doing the voiceover thing, sort of moonlighting. And it got to the point where within sort of 6 months of doing that I sort of had that decision to make of either I do this and do it properly, or I sort of carry on and basically kill myself doing it, because I was doing 2 jobs at once. No one can do that forever. So that was sort of the deciding factor, but it just fell into it really.
What even made you want to start doing it? Obviously, you've been doing content creation with FM, other things. You've been doing the podcast. But what made you think, right, you know what, I'm going to set up a gig on... It was Fiverr, I'd imagine you started, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where I started it.
Where,
yeah.
What made you think, right, I'm going to set up a gig on Fiverr and kick it off?
Can't even remember what made me...
Look at his profile picture. He likes sucking off microphones.
And it was a less embarrassing than setting up an OnlyFans, I guess.
OnlyFans didn't exist at this point. I don't
Wow.
You looked
you're
into that as
old.
well. Yeah.
But
He was
yeah,
like, my free cams. You're
leave
all
that to
laughing.
stockers.
Hello, Matt.
Yeah, I can't remember what I actually why I started doing it. Really, I never really had sort of a plan to do it full time. Maybe it was just an additional sort of form of earning money. I don't really know. I honestly can't remember.
But I mean, you've done well out of it. I mean, especially as we've had this. I think I've spoken to you before. Obviously, during lockdown, a lot of people you've sort of had the privilege. Your full-time job anyway is at home. You've not really had to change your lifestyle as such, or anything like that. So I'd assume this year has been still fairly steady, still fairly in terms of work, fairly normal.
Yeah, on the work front, it's been. I mean, I had in lockdown 1, I had the fortunate period of like all of the builders around me, despite being here for like 3 or 4 years, it's well documented that I dislike road sweepers and construction workers because they're noisy pricks.
That is a peek behind the curtain, because literally every day when we speak to Matt, it's like the food van, the road sweepers, the builders, like everybody is.
They were tag teaming. They were tag teaming the other week.
I'm not going to lie. If I ever win the lottery, I am just going to set a route up past your house just to piss you off.
Please don't.
I literally am. Until you get batty on the back of your shirt, and then we're good.
But like during lockdown 1, the construction workers directly opposite my house, they were the only ones on the whole development who stopped. So I got like 8 weeks, 12 weeks of just silence throughout the day. I got so much done during that period, whereas I'm kind of at their mercy during the day, because if they go past, then I can't record at that time, because it's just it's just a bit too loud for like giving me a low noise floor. When it's all right if I'm recording videos or doing a podcast, but when I'm selling something to someone, I can't. Like Joe listens to audiobooks quite a lot. Can you imagine having a road sweeper in the background whilst you're trying to have someone narrate to you?
I've listened to a podcast where they make coffee in the background. Just saying.
You were on it, weren't you?
Some people are professional though, so.
Rip the Deep Line podcast.
But yeah, I got a lot of work done during the first lockdown, but in terms of the actual business side of things, ultimately I got quite a lot of business out of companies needing like training scripts rewritten for like COVID stuff. So I was kind of fortunate with that, alongside audiobooks and everything like that.
I heard him on the SSE advert.
I was going to say,
Matt
it's
Jensen's
weird.
audiobook. I heard him on a Burger King advert.
Yes, that is definitely a
But
thing.
it wasn't me.
Go
It wasn't
on.
me.
Do it. Yeah.
Do it.
But
Take
do
my
the
big
raw.
whopper.
Do the raw. It is weird hearing you on stuff, especially like you get watch a video or something. You got the advert of HelloFresh. You're like, oh, hi Matt. Yeah,
I get a little sense of pride though.
Yeah, no, yeah, true. Like you made him, right?
Yeah.
You made him.
Well, I mean, it was mainly like content creation, and that started sort of. I've always been interested in like computers and audio stuff, and content creation and wanting to improve things sort of led me down the path of improving audio to the point where I had to get interested in it to look at it, and then that sort of led me down this garden path where I am now.
Basically, any book that I want to listen to that hasn't got an audio book, I'm just going to tag Matt in it forever. It
worked last time with the Matt Jansen one, so
not so much with the price of football, but we move.
Yeah. We tried, but like it's weird how things that have come about in terms of like that Matt Jansen gig was bizarre. How that actually worked out, but
the fact that it's Blackburn, like that's the thing in it. He's like a kind of not a hero, but you're a fan of him. So then to do an audiobook for someone that you've kind of...
The narratives are excellent.
Yeah.
Quite like, I mean, there's narrative steeped within narrative. It's just
to
poetic.
say you've done the audiobook of a former Blackburn Rovers player is pretty cool,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
Like Dave's just sitting down with Mo Kamara.
Hello, Mo. Hello, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Yeah. What's it been like from like a personal level though, Matt, this year? Like obviously we locked down outside of your actual work. You've been up to stuff that's any different, or just what's life been like really?
Obviously, I've had the fairly well documented back issues, which like I've been okay, and in fact, when I mentioned it when we had second yellow card on fairly early on in this series. When I was first in hospital, sort of 18 months or so ago, I had this weird epiphany, and I did mention it with second yellow card, or when Matt was on earlier on in the podcasts, and it was weird because really I should have been in like the darkest point. Like I've gone from being able to like walk to not being able to walk anymore. I couldn't even sit down at that point. But I'd somehow in my head I managed to correct things and decide that this is like a new beginning and I can feel better about it. So I came out feeling relatively light considering the situation, and I've had sort of dips. I think most people probably would when you've gone from being able to run half marathons to barely being able to walk around the block. It's quite a tough thing sort of to take in terms of sort of physical limitations that are now sort of been imposed upon you from something completely innocuous. But I had a consultation with it wasn't even the consultant, it was the registrar, who basically said, like, I'd had this sort of the carrot of everything will be okay, sort of surgery will be an option if it doesn't get better, and they've basically just taken that carrot away from me now and basically said that you're no longer a candidate for surgery. So it sort of leaves you in a position of I get to carry on as I am for the rest of my life. So constant pain, constant aching, walking around like a 90-year-old bloke, and that's a lot to take and accept. Like that's a lot. Like potentially that's a long time. And I mentioned like all of the mental health implications of what they're basically saying to me at that point, and they I wouldn't say they laughed it off, but they definitely didn't take it as seriously as they should have.
I was going to say, like, over the last 3 years, like, I think, well, us three definitely know, obviously you've had your ups and downs with your back. You know, there's obviously the normal life stuff, but certainly your back has affected you, even for, you know, like you say, for sitting down and recording, doing anything like it. To say you can't have an operation is, you know, pretty out of order, to be fair. Insert crowdfunder for Matt's private operation. new legs. What I kind of want for Matt, I want him to have those little wheels on his legs. You know, like they do on the dogs.
So it's almost like a little prison sentence for you then, Matt. Well, I say little, quite a long one. The fact that you just know that this is going to be you now for time over.
But that does feel how it's kind of been left at this point. So like lockdown as it's been hasn't really affected me. Like I don't mind. I'm like in terms of like my own company, I'm fine with that. I don't mind so much being locked up. I know other people really don't deal with it very well.
We'll point back to where you said you hate people, so that's probably why, right?
That helps in this situation.
And he sits down with 5 of us a week that he hates.
No, that's the other
So
way
at
around.
least-
You lot hate me, so
Yeah,
let's get that right.
Sorry, yeah, true point.
Is your name Herb? Oh, shit.
That's tomorrow.
But yeah, it's so lockdown itself hasn't been. I don't think it's affected me that badly, but the like that's really knocked me a bit, and that's why I withdrew from like pretty much everything last week. Is that I had that at the start of the week, and I was like, I can't fake being like angry and disappointed and frustrated by that entire thing, and I'd just bring everyone else down with me, and it's like. I've tried listening to people, like you can have adult conversations about like feeling upset and angry and stuff, but when you're having to listen to someone like that moaning about everything, and that's what it turns into. You moan about everything when you're down, and so if I'm playing FM, that is only going to get like worse. And so I thought I'm not going to bring the quality of the podcast down and everything else. And it doesn't help that when that sort of shit happens, it affects everything else. Like I get. Again, fairly well documented. I get sort of my tummy gets a bit funny when I get stressed, and that sort of was like peak anxiety and depression right at that point. So I'd either be shitting myself on the podcast, which has almost happened before, and then or I'd be angry and miserable in front of you lot, which is
when we're being dickheads on the podcast, and then you get the ump about it, and it's not you getting the ump, it's just because you're in a shit place. And I think, like, I text you when, obviously, you said you weren't on the pod. And I'm like, just to check in, because I'm kind of like, he's got the shits. Best text him and make sure he's all right, because he's probably had some shit news. And I think that kind of thing, we haven't talked about it that much, where just dropping someone a message, like Dupe does it quite a lot. You've done it to me, Matt, when I've kind of had a little time out from, like, being in Discord or, like, being around. It's just nice to just check in with people. And I think because we've spoke to each other 170 podcasts and spent God knows how many hours in Discord, that you get to know when someone's not feeling that great, and it's just just send someone a message and then send another one, make sure they're right.
I'd love to say that it's me being a nice guy. It's not. I'm just a nosy fuck, and I just want to know what's going on. When I drop you text messages. Sorry, was that really out of context? So you're saying like, just because I want to know what's going on. So it comes across that I'm being nice. That works well. That's a win-win for both, right?
I guess so.
It's appreciated.
And to be fair, Matt's second lockdown has been better than his first, because in between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2, you got to come to my house and we had a nice little candlelit dinner, didn't we, Matthew?
It wasn't quite candlelit, but it was a very nice dinner, to be fair.
That was big, Matt.
Did he bring his own knife and fork?
No, but he did use a knife and fork. Yeah. I made sure that
was it up to standard?
No.
What did you
he got his little sharpening block out and started sharpening the knife up, and fucking weird.
It was sharpening stone.
What did you have
Did
to
he put the knife on the left-hand side?
He stabbed it in my back, to be honest.
I'm cack-handed, so...
Wow.
Oh, is that PC? Are we allowed to say that?
You can't say cack-handed, right?
Okay, just checking.
I don't know. I've said it now, so...
Twice.
Fuck it.
That piece, yeah. What did he cook you, Matt? Or was it?
I didn't cook him anything. I took him out.
Oh, like McDonald's.
Took me out and made me pay for it, yeah.
No, we went 50-50. We went Dutch. Didn't we? We split it down the middle.
We did go Dutch, yeah.
Huh?
He's holding you to that.
Yeah. We definitely went Dutch, and he... we had exactly...
Was that when he bought your green screen off you?
It was, yeah.
The one that you got 50% off?
I don't know what you're talking about. I actually give him a very good price.
Yeah, Duke will buy you a few pints next time we go to Football Manager, but then he probably wouldn't be invited. So.
It's also free, Dave. To be fair, says the man that how the fuck you've been invited for the last 2 years when you literally make no fucking content is tremendous.
And obviously, Matt, with your obviously with lockdown, what's your family and friend situation been like? Obviously, it's been a struggle for people to meet up with family and friends. Are you close with your family? Do they live near you, or? So
my brother lives in Manchester, so they will be in like tier 3. They've been in tier 3 for quite a while. So I'm not going to see them over Christmas at all, by the looks of it. And my mum and dad live about sort of 20 minutes, half an hour away, so we will see them over Christmas. But it's I've probably not seen. I've been over to sort of fix their internet tonight, and that's the first time I've seen them in probably 2 months. So
How's your mum? She alright?
She's alive. So
Yeah.
no, she's. I think she's getting frustrated with everything that's going on for me, because she's obviously been through that about 20 years ago.
That's why I asked. Yeah, because I know she's not without her troubles.
So she's. I think she's probably struggled the most out of anyone I know with the whole moving to working from home. She likes socialising, but also she's being older. She's not used to having like working from home privileges or it being a thing. So
my mum could never do that. She would never be able to work from home. Neither would my dad.
Well, my dad's
I don't think my dad's been on the internet.
Well, my dad had to learn how to use a computer to do MOT tests after they moved them to be electronic only.
I reckon if my dad found the internet now, you know Quagmire when he comes out with a big that'd be my dad coming out of lockdown too.
That's what I was going to say. It'd be a bit awkward for your mum to work from home, wouldn't it? Dad might think, what's going on here?
Especially when they start putting the pole in the fucking dining room. What the fuck's going on?
But I think it's sort of made me realise like how like people of a certain age, unless they're sort of fairly savvy with technology, like, they don't have a clue how to set up like monitors and stuff.
Mate, it's brutal because I went to Boots in the week. I went to Specsavers to get my contact lenses, and I went over to Boots to get some solution because it's cheaper and I'm savvy. And they got like a pharmacy in the corner, and as I'm walking past, there's this like proper old deal. And she's like, I just need to get a repeat prescription. But you're not allowed to come in to get that. You have to do that online. She's like, well, I literally don't have the internet. What am I supposed to do? You know,
like we take that for granted, but Sheridan's granddad's the same. Like he barely has a phone. He has a mobile. He never has it turned on. He doesn't have the internet. The only entertainment he sees.
Thing, innit?
Well, he turns 85 on Monday, I think.
Wow.
No, but Monday, Tuesday, and like he doesn't. The only form of entertainment he has at home is the TV. That's it. He doesn't even. I think he's got a DVD player that doesn't work.
What a blissful life.
Yeah, and he's so. I mean, all he does is he goes for walks. But like they're the sorts of people that it's difficult for.
Yeah. If we're crowdfunding for Matt's new back, can we crowdfund for him to get a DVD player as well?
Let's go Blu-ray.
The thing is, he's such a nice guy. Like we were supposed to take it. In fact, the worst thing about all of this is that we'd said that for his birthday last year we were going to go and take him to see Kettering Town, because he doesn't get out to see the football very often, and his mobility is getting worse as he gets older, as most people tend to. And then Kettering had a spate of fixtures that got cancelled due to the weather, and then obviously the pandemic hits, and there's been no football really since, and it's not really safe to take him out to games like that, because they're still classed as like elite football as well. So it's like now come full circle to the fact that we're past a year into the future and we still can't take him.
There's people like at work though with me, like you say, like my granddad is probably sort of mid to late, sort of mid 70s, I'd say, and he's got Facebook, his own iPhone and stuff like that. Whereas there's people that and like there's older people that come into work and I've got a picture of my fireplace here. Do you want me to airdrop it to you? I'm like, what? Whereas there's people that are maybe 20 years younger that don't have a clue what any of that is. So yeah, I think it, like you say, it just depends who they live with and stuff. If they got quite savvy children that say, right, mum,
your granddad, mate.
Yeah.
Your granddad. His Facebook post on his birthday.
Oh, my granddad. Yeah, my granddad is obviously. Thanks a lot for the birthday wishes. I'm just going to go drink some whiskey now, so fuck COVID and all this stuff.
So he was a sentence away from having a Union Jack flag.
Yeah. So my nan, she's old and she's got Facebook, but for some reason all I ever see her do, like all she must do all day. She used to work in the catering business, and all you see is these like rate my plates and stuff like that. This is probably where I get my meal deal love from. She's going through and she's like slagging off all these people that put like some bloke put like a fry up on a shovel, and like my nan, she was she's from a council background, but she's like, what the fuck is that doing on a shovel? I'm like, nan, fuck it, it's Facebook, everyone can see that, you know that.
Did she do it in capital letters as well?
I don't probably.
That's like the elite old people thing.
It's just like she just has no fucking chill. I think my brother put a Facebook status about like how he's done with his ex-girlfriend and onto the new one, and she was like, oh yeah, probably for the best because she was a right bitch. I'm like, Mum, Nan, she can see that. like they've got a kid together, they make it, just calm the fuck down.
Great grandchild's mom, yeah.
Oh man, you know that picture of the that you normally see when Beta's due to come out, and they're like, oh, release Beta or my Nan stays in the cage or whatever. I need to get one of them installed in our house because my gramps well into S&M, and that'll be right up his street.
Yikes. Big yikes.
Knowing your granddad, he just still likes MSN, just spelled it wrong.
My granddad's weird, man. He is one of the nicest guys. Right, I got to tell you the story. I've got so many shitty stories, but I'm going to tell you this one. My granddad is literally the nicest guy in the world, and he's a bus driver, all right? And he used to drive the buses for. He used to drive the buses for Chippenham Town football club, and he was, unfortunately he's had to have a hip operation recently and all of this jazz. But there's a video that we got up onto my mum brought round to me about 6 months ago, of my christening, because we just had our little man's christening and we were looking at photos and stuff, and he sat videoing the whole christening. And instead of videoing the christening, which he's just sat at the back videoing it, whilst he's talking to my other uncle, or my other great uncle, who lives up north, on how he got down, and they were doing road by junction of how you get from one house to the other.
That's all you can hear.
Yeah, you just go down the M5, get off at 11A, and watch for the speed bump. And like, fucking hell, Graham, like, come on.
Is that all you can hear on the video?
That's all you can hear on the video. You can hear fuck all.
Oh, she's good looking. Look left there. Oh, she's fucking fit, isn't she?
Why is Dupe's uncle Chris Rishton?
We're going to be doing camcorder christening tonight, boys. Yeah.
He's an awesome geezer.
Polecats in the chat.
He asked me to go and fix his PC, which is like simple for like old people. Just go to the youngest person that has any knowledge. And I'm not going to ask any questions, and I'm only going to leave this very brief. But for some reason, he wanted a webcam fitted, and I don't know what for.
It's like whenever someone asks you, like whenever someone old asks you to look at their computer, do you ever you just need to have that dare of look at their internet history?
Oh, we had this conversation.
I had this conversation with Matt Neal.
So
Matt Neal had to go and fix Neil Warnock's. Do you know this? Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, did you look for his internet history? He was like, no. I was like, what the fuck are you not doing that for? I'm interested. And if anyone kind of says anything, I'll just say I'm looking to see if they bought me my Christmas presents yet, and I'm trying to find out. Don't like surprises.
Do you remember
I've got a backstory. It's fine.
Like on Twitter when it first started, there was a guy who basically set it up for his dad and told him it was a search engine.
Oh, so amazing!
He basically so he just tweeted out what he was searching for, and that was, I don't know if it's still going, but that was interesting, enlightening, I dare say. Would be.
I prefer the dark skin, to be fair.
Yikes!
That's not a thing anymore, unfortunately.
Twitter.
I'm scrolling up because Dave's dad done exactly that. I'm trying to find
my wife's Twitter's horrendous.
I'm not even going to try it. It'd be so far.
My dad used to tweet on his account when he did an installation instead of the work one. And I'm like, Dad, why are you doing that?
Do you remember it was American Express, and it was like, oh, can I get 2 cards, one for me, one for my wife?
Yeah, he's like, I think I
putting an order in over Twitter.
I deleted that.
Literally,
proper Wayne Rooney. Do you want picking up in the morning?
Yeah. He tweeted Martin Lewis, my dad did, on in May, at Martin S. Lewis. Any advice on Aviva Insurance Company who flatly reject any claim for business interruption, even though it's in their policy? Nah, there's one. That's quite a sensible one. Again, to Martin Lewis. This one's to This Morning. That is proper your dar, that is.
So my wife's
What's this one? What's this one? At Talking Wolves, why are you talking shit?
Oh my god. Here we go. There's a girl, a young girl, probably about my age, who left our marble fireplace company. My dad replied, "You're going to be missed." I bet she is, Dad. Here we go. Ask Amex. How do I go about arranging a premium plus card for myself and my wife, please? Regards, Adrian has a party. He signed off the tweet. Oh my word.
Your dad sells fireplaces.
Yeah, brilliant.
at HB, can I get a new toner for my printer, please?
Right. Is this
his aunt as well. Your aunt Dave she's a Twitter celebrity.
My auntie, I think all three of you have heard this before. My auntie, when I used to work with her, she goes, "Oh, do you use Twitter a lot?" I said, "Yeah, that's all I use really." And she goes, "Oh, I've got Twitter." Looked at her profile, she had one follower. It was Michael McIntyre, the comedian. I said, "Why is your only follower Michael McIntyre?" I said, "That's the most random thing."
She's a serial complainer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Like Dupe's missus is trying to catch up with her.
Mate, my missus recently, I don't understand it. In the last 2 weeks, is like £20 for next day annual delivery subscription on Monday. Still waiting for my order. It was my son's party outfit for today. Like, what the fuck?
So, wait,
really disappointed.
So on Twitter we've got.
I got more. Bear with. Great start to my day. A load of tea bags split. Hashtag need my morning cuppa. And then PG replied saying, "Can I have the batch code?" And she was like, "Wow, thank you. Didn't expect a response, let alone that quickly." And then that was on the 5th.
And he's got a massive load of tea bags now.
Yeah. And then the 5th again, gutted to be missing a roll of my Christmas wrapping paper and my click and collect order from Mataland with no chance of getting it back. Like, fucking grow up, woman. It's a fucking roll of Christmas paper. It's November.
So on Twitter we've got Doreen and your missus on Twitter, and then we've got your Nana and Leslie Curtis on Facebook. Remember that? On Curtis'
Respect the Leslie Curtis.
Yeah. I mean, she tweeted in 2015 about our bed breaking, which is definitely didn't happen in any intercourse whatsoever. And she put it on Twitter and blamed the company that we bought it from.
This is a good one. Adrian has a party, November 2018. Sterling, full stop. What a cheat. Hold your head in shame.
What did he do?
Does your dad work for the Daily Mail?
Yeah. I'm just looking through him. So, I mean
this is great content.
You remember when that guy dashed my mic, right? A couple of years ago.
What, Proudy?
Yeah, that guy nicked my mic.
Has he still got your mic?
Yeah, I think it's broken now.
Fucking hell.
I put that tweet out about that guy nicking my mic and me saying, "What is the point in making content?" And my dad tagged Nuno in it. Oh, brilliant.
Hang on. I just found the greatest tweet from my wife in 2016. Sport Bible tweeted, "Late Christmas present before going back to work tomorrow? ? Enjoy Peter Crouch's wife Abby Clancy stripping naked." Right? My wife quote tweets that and puts, "Hey at Peter Crouch, how the hell do you get out of bed in the morning?" You horny bitch! What the fuck? That's 9 months before. Hang on. Conspiracy. Oh, that's an amazing tweet.
He's a funny man. I'm just looking at my dad.
I mean, this is definitely where this podcast has got to, right?
Yeah, but we did that. I'm sure we did a 5-star pod about that, just reading tweets about Miles before. Remember?
It was nasty
that
tweets
was
to Miles, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was
abuse.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
That's going back in.
There
must be loads for this year.
There must be some for us as well. That's what I want. I want to read some, like the mean tweets about us.
But I absolutely love now that Miles, just as we're on topic there, he doesn't even write a tweet back to people now. He just does a link to the tweet where he says, "Go to the forum."
Yeah.
He must have that saved in his notes.
He's probably got it as a shortcut on his keyboard.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, even a Siri shortcut, maybe.
Yeah.
Send tweet. Done.
Hey, send that knob that tweet. Thank you.
Well, obviously, mate, you spoke about obviously the sort of dark times as well, and obviously it's been a bit of a difficult year in terms of obviously what's been going on. Have you ever sort of it's always quite a tough question obviously to ask. Have you ever had to reach out for that extra support? If you've had those really low times, maybe not just this year but previously in your life as well.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember what any of the others have really said of the guests, but I think I tweeted about it when it all sort of happened. Kind of, I don't even know why I did. I felt like a duty of care to some people, maybe, it was easier just to let everyone know rather than just let a select few.
Yeah.
With that, Matt, I'm just going to jump in there. Do you think, because you see it a lot on Twitter with like content creators and that, it's like before they're going to come back streaming, and do you think it's, if I put it on Twitter, it's so I don't get asked in the stream because I don't want to have that conversation? It's kind of like, there it is, this is why I've not been here. Don't ask me in the stream because it's like something because it is difficult to talk about.
It wasn't really something that sort of thing really crossed my mind. It was more like, I think partially that sort of thing was for me. It's like I guess it's kind of the way why people maybe write diaries. It's like you are sort of either having a self-reflective moment, and that's kind of what those tended to be. It was much for Sheridan as well as it was for anything else. Like, she can still see that, because at that point, like, it was really hard for me to articulate what was going on, and it was like I was pretty honest in everything I've said, with that sort of thing. Like, I'd said about leaving my job. When I left my job, I was we thought that was what the problem was. That was the thing that was dragging me down, dragging my mood down. And then after a couple of weeks, it was like, it hasn't got any better, and I was sort of basically given an ultimatum, because I'd worn Sheridan down so much for this 18-month period where I was just a complete shit to live with, to the point where as now she has PTSD, and every time I'm I'm not gonna say less than nice, but every time I sort of either
in a low point.
Yeah, that she thinks that this is where we're going straight back again, and then we have our own little disconnect, and it takes a while to to get things back to where they were, and so it obviously got. But I wasn't aware of that, but it got to that point where she gave me the ultimatum, basically, either I go and speak to someone about it, or we're done. So it was a pretty stark.
I remember, yeah.
So I either have to do that, or that's it. And I'd rather not give up on a marriage just like that. So I went to the doctor. He prescribed various antidepressant cocktails to try and get take the edge off a little bit, because I was in the he did I can't remember what it was, a pretty severe depression that I was diagnosed with. I'd went to go on the NHS list, because you can still do it, and I don't think anyone else has mentioned it, so I'll mention it now, and maybe we should put a link in the description. But there is a free NHS service. You don't even have to go to the doctor. As long as you are registered at a doctor's, you can basically apply to get some free counselling through the NHS. Everyone is, like I said, everyone is entitled to it. Everyone is eligible as long as you're registered to a doctor. And so I did that, but I didn't hear anything back from them. And I'd also the doctor suggested going to Mind and things like that, so I went to Mind. It took a while for that to go through. Obviously, it's a charity. They have it depends on where you are and everything like that as to how quickly they see you. It took a while for me to get an appointment, but I had some counselling with them, which helped. They do this scoring system to sort of judge you at the start, middle, and end as to how much your level of depression or whatever the thing you've been diagnosed with has improved. And so my score had improved, but they basically said we can't really do anything more for you at this point, and they're offering you more sessions we don't think is going to help you. And then I obviously had the hospital thing, and it kind of, I wouldn't say it lifted, I had got better, and I'd sort of got to the point where I was working on things, but it does take a while. But the thing that sort of eats me up the most now is the fact that Sheridan was kind of forgotten in all of this, and so she was dragged down to the point of breaking, and she was she would say that no one sort of cares about me, about all of this. Everyone always asks how I am, but no one asks how she is, and she was the one that took an absolute battering. And to the
not
point,
literally,
not literally. No, it was, but in terms of just.
Mentally,
yeah, it's tiring for her, and she's got to the point now where she's sort of, she still gets affected by it now, and so it's difficult to deal with for her. I'd imagine it's not been, it's been no picnic for me either, and it does take a while to get it. But those I'm being quite open. You take the piss out of me for it. It doesn't really bother me, but we all give a shit. We'd take the piss out of you if you was in a fantastic place. but you don't get the antidepressants don't fix anything. I know there are some
suppress.
People they suppress, and that living isn't great either. And I don't really know if I can advocate massively for like talking therapies. I don't want to suggest people don't do them either, but I didn't feel I got a huge amount from them. It was a lot of people. It's whatever you need to find what works for you to get you back on the right track, and it is very much different strokes for different folks. But yeah, the antidepressant route may work for a while, but it's certainly not a long-term thing because it doesn't fix the deep-rooted stuff. And I think that's the bit that really I kind of probably gone off a bit off kilter from the main question really, but yeah, basically yes, I have sought out like professional help. I'm just sort of trying to give people a bit of a, if you don't know, then obviously you might think it's quite scary, but it doesn't have to be. Like all you need to do is phone up the doctor and say that I'm struggling, I need some help, or I think I might be depressed, I'm suffering with anxiety, whatever you think it might be. I mean, it doesn't even matter if you know. You just say I'm struggling, and the doctor will know what to do. Or, like I said, if you don't, then use that free service that is available to you, and they will at least assess you and advise you sort of further on. You don't have to do, I say, it alone. I guess, irrespective of, it's a case of. I think the hardest step is acknowledging that something's not right.
Yeah, because reaching out is accepting it. Right, it's accepting that something's not right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean,
it's a start, isn't it? It's a start.
Yeah, it is, and I think for everything that I've gone through, and to be fair, I probably should have spoke to somebody, but I don't think I was in a position where I was brave enough to kind of battle through, but I don't think I was brave enough to speak out and actually genuinely admit to what's happening and what's going on in my head. I think I spoke about it previously in other pods, and I think it just scared me, to be honest. So yeah, absolutely take my hat off to anyone that can open up and do that, because it's a difficult place to be.
Thing is, with you, there was like a definitive moment where it happened. Obviously, like there's. Whereas I guess mine was more a gradual build up. Like I'm not going to say I had like this awful childhood.
You kind of grow with it, don't you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like when you have like a sudden kind of incident,
it's like 0 to 100 really quick.
You know why, isn't it? But when you kind of learn to grow, it's like people like use cars as an analogy. When a car starts getting worse and performing worse, you kind of grow with the car, and you don't really realise until you have it repaired and you go, oh my god, that feels like a million times better. Like you have to acknowledge there's an issue, and then kind of, as like you say, admitting it is kind of the first step to trying to rebuild.
But like when I was going through like the counselling, I was like we went referenced in earlier. Like my mum was like she's now disabled but wasn't born disabled due to an incident with the NHS, and like so it forced me to grow up very quickly at like 14 or 15, and it's so like I was without my mum for like 2 years because she was in and out of hospital. Well, she was in hospital for 2 years, and that's like my formative year. Like the end of my formative years, I'm trying to do my GCSEs at the same time. My dad's doing shift work. So I'm not seeing my mum, I'm barely seeing my dad, I'm having to look after my brother. It was a lot going on for someone of that age at that time, and I wasn't keen to mention that to the counsellor at the time, because I thought they would just pin everything on that. That's not going to solve the problem, because I don't think that is the root of it. But also like that like basically forced me to toughen up, and as a result I think it's probably muted my emotional output. Like my natural response whenever you have like an emotional moment, whether it is like at a funeral, like my nan died quite recently, that was the first time I feel like I've actually had a proper emotional like response to something almost instantly. Whereas normally my response is like, don't cry. Whatever you do, you cannot cry. You can't show, not as a case of show weakness, but you have to be the strong one. And that thing I think has gradually built up over time to the point where I just look like this cold rock usually.
Yeah, I was going to say you. Yeah, exactly that.
Like I remember seeing my dad cry for the first time ever at his mum's funeral. Never seen him cry before, and like so it was like I feel like I've got to be the one who can't cry. My mum's dad's funeral, she was supposed to do the reading, couldn't do it, so I ended up having to do it. But again, can't cry, and it's that sort of. It's almost that's now my sort of standard emotional response. Even when I was getting like married, when I was standing up at the altar, and I could feel the tears coming, because it's like I don't know how to process this emotion. It's just like can't show it. That's it. Pull it back, and then like afterwards, Sharon was annoyed because I didn't cry, and it's like it's like that that thing where I can watch Marley and Me, and I can feel like tears welling up, and sometimes I can't quite control it enough, and I get like the little tear just dripping out and like just like leaking a little bit. But it's like I feel the emotion, but it's like I've almost got to like put the fire blanket over it and stop it before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, I think I've always grown up with my old man just not showing any emotion whatsoever, and I think like kind of when you get used to seeing that, it's kind of, well, this is what being a man is, right? This is what being a dad is that you're the rock, you're the strong one, you're the one that doesn't show anything. And again, I mean, I can't remember the last time that I properly had a cry about stuff, and I've gone through some pretty horrible things recently, and it makes you wonder, have you been able to cut the tie of that emotion, or can you actually still do it? Can you still perform if you needed to?
I think it's a generational thing as well, because like as you've got obviously 2 kids, you might have more, but I know of 2.
I'm not sure they're mine, but okay.
And I might be completely wrong here, but like I say to my son, I tell him every day that I love him.
Yeah.
And you probably do exactly the same with Oscar and Luca, but your dad probably never said it to you.
My dad's never said it to me.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, you know, he loves you, but it's like, he never said it. And now it's like it's a generational thing, I think, because
it's different,
like,
isn't it?
people say that, you know, men don't talk out and stuff, but I think it has changed. I think that the stigmas are starting to kind of go away, because like I say, like every day I'll say it, because in my mind I always think, if it's the last conversation I ever have, I want that to be it.
Yeah,
so it's one of those things. Yeah,
I would
so
agree.
it's one of those things. And like you're saying about kind of putting the barriers up and being the one that has to be strong, and it's like, you don't need to be like that. And obviously, you know, it's that generational thing. You've kind of had to do it, so you think that's your.
The thing is, I've been doing that for like 17 years. Like,
it's hard to change, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the difficult. Well, probably more than that now, isn't it? Closer to 20 now. Like since so that's like my learned response to anything that I need to stop doing. Like you were saying about like the generational thing. I don't me and my dad aren't. It's not like we're not close. Like we have similar interests and do things, but like I see other people who do everything with their dad, and I like there's a limit to how much I can tolerate my parents. Like I don't want to do loads of stuff with them. They're like Shonen and her mum. Like there's a point to where like you can tell she's had enough of her, but they do a lot together. Whereas I've never had that with either of my parents, really.
I don't know if this is a gender thing, but I can walk in from work and my wife is just like pottering around the kitchen and she's got her mum on loudspeaker. And like they're not really talking. And this is like pre-pandemic as well, but like it's not like they're having a proper conversation. It's just being in company of each other. And like she'll be like, so, you know, just chatting shit. Yeah. I could never see me. I mean, I say that we do that all the fucking time, but I could never see me doing that with like I could never just have my old man. Like my old man, I'll get him on the phone. I'm like, yo, Dad. So this has happened. Are you in? Are you out? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. See you soon. Like, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I mean, I know
the same.
I know that like if I'm in trouble, like I know it, like. My dad's a mechanic, and so every time I ring him, and if it's like past 10 o'clock, he's like, what's gone wrong now? Like, sort of thing. There's like, where are you? And it's like nothing bad's happened. It's just that like we've lost a headlight or something like that, and it's like that's his usual response.
After 10 o'clock.
But equally, like he where we're coming back from. I can't remember where we're coming back from. This was again pre-pandemic. It may be like it was like a. It might have been Peterborough or something, but we went to Tesco, went in, and all of a sudden we came back out, car wouldn't start. And so my dad drove 45 minutes rather than saying, he said, we've got like breakdown. He said, don't ring them, they'll take an hour. So he drove for 45 minutes. Bear in mind, this is 11 o'clock at night. He's got to get up for work at 6.
Tesco's at 11 o'clock at night.
Well, say we were coming back from somewhere, so we're just picking something up. And so, my parents are probably the most selfless people I know, and I picked up some of those traits, which is why I end up going to Great Yarmouth to decorate for people, etc. But equally, but that they go sort of way beyond, to the point where it's detrimental to them. They'll put their own things off to help other people.
I think most parents would be like that, though. To be fair, I think most people listening, or most parents would, if you, like my mum and dad would be the same as that as well. Like I think if I was say, you know,
if I ring your mum, she comes around here straight away.
What did you just say?
Exactly.
You made a mum joke, yeah.
Okay. Because I thought you said what you said.
Joke.
I think like the thing is though, Dave. Like I would say with my parents, as much as there's different ways of showing things, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that like I can remember through mainly my memories and from home videos that like my mum and dad we didn't have much growing up, and we didn't kind of, you know, we weren't going on lavish holidays. I mean, a holiday for us was we literally went round to our uncle's house and camped in the garden. Do you know what I mean? Like at that time, my old man was everything that they could do and earn that just went into the house, and us as growing up as kids.
Yeah.
But like I can remember like watching these videos, and I can so solidly remember like one of my birthdays that like I had the Manchester United kit and some rollerblades, and like I just wouldn't take them off for hours, and like we were like everything I wanted, my like the attention wise I had, you know, we were play fighting, we were playing on the whatever, we were watching whatever, and we were always together, but we didn't have, like I said, all the flashy shit. But it kind of, I think nowadays it's very easy, like I'm bad for it, like I just chuck the little man in front of a telly and I'm like, sweet, I can crack on, do what I've got to do or something like that. And it makes you really wonder that actually sometimes people's time is so much more better than materials. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't change my childhood for anything, because
I'm the same.
it made me into what I am. And like I know my mum and dad that if I needed something, and they don't have much, but if I needed something, my dad would beg, borrow, steal. He would go
tell the camera story.
Yeah, he'd go to the end of the fucking world to get what I need him to get, and he can do that for me.
Your mum, when your camera broke, she said, "Oh, do you want me to buy you one?"
I can't remember. Oh yeah. Do you want me to buy? Yeah. So my camera broke, right? 500 quid camera. Sorry, Joe. And my camera broke, and my mum was like, "Oh, you know, how are you doing? How was your week?" And I'm like, "I'm in a fucking shit mood, mum. I've had this, and now my camera's broke." She goes, "Oh, do you want me to buy you one?" And like that's never happened. Like my mum would never just kind of go, "Here's money. Just chuck money at the problem. She'll chuck time at the problem." And I was like, "Yeah, if you want." She goes, "All right, brilliant. I'll transfer you 40 quid." Pardon? I'm not being really rude, but like, she's like, "Well, I said, well, that's really kind. I mean, I'm more than happy. If you're happy to, I'll take that contribution." She was like, "Contribution?" I was like, "Yeah." She was, "I was hoping to get fucking change." I was like, "The one that I'm going for is like 400 or 500 quid." She goes, "Well, you buy that yourself then."
It's not Fujifilm disposable camera, mum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but like that, and that shows, you know, like, and I know that, you know, they don't, and which is why I love having them around for Christmas, and you know, we do kind of what I can when I can, but I think my parents are I couldn't have asked for better parents, and we're very lucky to have them, and I'm sure you guys would say exactly the same about yours. Yeah. But it's just, it's amazing how much it really shapes you as a person, and how many traits I pick up from them, and bad traits. Don't get me wrong.
I think you like when you start looking back, you reflect. You can there's still things I find out that I basically do what my dad still does, even though like he doesn't. Like I didn't realise it was a thing he did, and then Mum says, "Why do you always do that?" I said, "Well, I always do that as well."
I'm
so
sure
it must be like one of those things.
I'm sure if we got a load of people that we knew and all their parents, or the people that they grew up with, in a room, after a little while of chatting to them and talking to them and kind of picking up their personality traits and stuff, you'd be able to kind of go, that's Dave's mum and dad. You know, that's Matt's parents. You know, and it'd be because. I'm sure. I mean, we've seen Aid walk in. He's literally just a spit of you, Dave, or you're a spit of him, I should say.
Yeah, well,
just less attractive.
Well,
and a smaller cock. That's what Lib says, anyway.
Now, people at work have said that, "Oh, you like your dad and stuff," but like that, because Isaac, my brother, works with him now as well. Everyone's saying that a lot about Isaac, but Isaac does stuff now at home that he like. That is really weird, because like dad does the exact same sort of thing. So, but like you said, I think a lot, like Matt said earlier, you know, he broke it down 45 minutes away. I think all of our parents, I'd like to think, if they could drive, they'd say, they might have a little moan, but they'd go out of your way to do it. They're not going to say, "No, fuck off, call the AA." You know what I mean? So I think most of the parents would come out and sort us out. But like you said as well, dude, I'm very, very fortunate. And I know again you guys made jokes about it and stuff, but my dad was brought up and lived in probably one of the shittest areas of Wolverhampton. Like no joke at all. Like a really council. Like
that's most of it, isn't it?
But like really council like driven area. And he just but he was switched on from like day one. He like did all. I know this sounds minor, but he did from the age of like 10. He did all his own ironing, all his own washing, everything, and just worked from like day one and just worked his way up. And he just did little jobs like he got made redundant, and then on the Friday and by the Monday he was doing delivery driving for a fireplace company, and that's where it started. He was doing delivery driving for a fireplace company, became a sales rep, did 3 or 4 different companies, ended up making his own business as well in fireplaces. So my dad's got that graft mentality. I don't think I've quite got that as much as he has, but I think my brother has. So hopefully we can make some sort of combo anyway and create a half decent business in the future. But
I wouldn't do yourself a disservice, Dave, because you do a lot.
You do?
Yeah, I suppose.
It's just it's just because you do it in a different area, like a different field. It's not. You do a lot. You have got quite a good work ethic.
Yeah,
I'd say that out of everything, that's one thing I'm most grateful. I'm worse than my dad. Like my dad was, I wouldn't say he's a workaholic, but at any opportunity he would work because of the financial gain to it, right? And for me, it's now, I at the moment I go through a stage of I'm hating work, but I got me and the lads in work this morning because we had a job to do. At 11 o'clock, I'm sending them home because we don't need all of us. And I'm like, well, I'll stay. You know, I've got the work ethic to I want to be first in, last out. You know, like we see it. I mean, I do it at Christmas. I go literally silent at Christmas because I'm doing 16, 17-hour days. And Matt always tells me after Christmas, you know, that's illegal, don't you? Literally all the time he tells me that. But it's just like, for me, I'm very grateful of that. And I'll take that. If anything, I've come out of that, you know, at 13, 14, I'm doing 5 paper rounds before school, 2 paper rounds after school. I'm doing sticking up on a Thursday night, sticking up on a Tuesday night. And then as soon as I can, I'm working down the shop. I'm working here, I'm working there. And, you know, that's always the only way I could get through it.
But I think I think we've probably all been brought up, well, from the same generation, but also with everyone's got the same sort of mentality. Like I was the first sort of male child of our family at all to have gone to university or to have been able to afford to go to university. And so that kind of breaks the cycle. Otherwise, end up in a sort of a manual trade or what have you. That's just like my granddad was a train engineer and my dad is a car and truck mechanic. It just seems to that's the you follow that sort of the direction that you've set for, and I think it does take a lot to sort of break that cycle. But a lot of people getting that sort of ethic. It obviously you can go the other way, but when you've got a positive role model, whether male or female, it always ends up going well. I think. Dave, I'm not going to take over your hosting duties, but did you want to move on?
Yeah, I just kind of want to say one thing though. Just on that last point, I'll be really quick, Dave, because I know it's way past your fucking bedtime. The thing is, Matt, like, yes, absolutely, grown up with a positive role model, it really spurs you on. But then I know people that have grown up with really negative role models and just use that as determination and grit to not be anything like that. So, you know, even if we can sit here and say, look how blessed we are with silver spoons up our asses, but you know, you got to take the situation you've got and whether you turn it, you know, use that as determination.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I don't want to be stuck. Like my nan lives next door and my mum lives here and they're all the council houses. If you want to be out of that, you can get out of that. Anyone can. You just got to use that.
I completely agree with that. And let's say the band situation, it's down to you to decide 100%. How you want to deal with it. And so I completely agree with and that. If that's what you got from what I was saying, that isn't what I meant. It was more more that like just highlighting that we're fortunate enough to have positive role models.
100%.
But equally, it's down to like we could have had the positive role model and come out like absolute lazy fucks. And
have you met my brother? But the thing is, also, I will say that it. Yeah, let's move on. But yeah, absolutely, man. I wasn't putting it out like that. What I was saying is that it. You know, it is down to you. And let's be honest, you can have a silver spoon up your ass and and you can do really well. But there's a lot more people that I know that haven't, because they learn the work ethic better than when you get things put on a plate for you. You know,
Knowing the
clearly
value
you
of
can
money
see I've had
is
things on a plate.
knowing the value of money is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I think.
100%.
Well, lads, I think that's enough for today. It's been a really insightful conversation, and really enjoyable podcast as always. Matt, thank you very much for jumping on once again. Obviously, a lot of you will know of Matt. A lot of you have seen his content, and obviously, if you listen to the standard 5-star potential, he's the main guy on there. But appreciate you jumping on as always, Matt, Dupe, Joe as well. As always, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll make sure I leave a link as well to the NHS link that Matt was talking about earlier on, and all the other links for the professionals if you want to reach out to those. Our links are in the description as well, or if you want to email us privately, info@westreamfm.com. But until next time, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Say goodbye, everyone.
Say goodbye, Phil.
Goodbye, everyone.